Good morning, student. Welcome to the lecture of Real Analysis 1. In the last lecture, we have seen some important inequalities. The first inequality we have seen is regarding the meaning of an integration a to b whenever this b is less than or equals to a. We have seen the meaning of integration a to b, right? Whatever is the value of integration a to b for b greater or equal by a, same we are going to explain the value of this integration for b less than or equals to a in terms of this integration. Therefore, whenever b is less than a, integration a to b is nothing but negative integration b to a. Okay, whenever we were considering the integration from left to right, we were counting it as a positive value. Whenever we are going from right to left, we were counting the value as per the convention to be negative. Therefore, for b less than a, the value of the integration is negative integration b to a, and this value is going to be 0 for the value b exactly equals to a. Similarly, initially we have started with this inequality that value of integration a to b f dx lies between small m times b minus a to capital M times b minus a. Then with some changes we were going to understand what will happen if a is a greater than b. Okay. Then if a is a greater than b, we have seen that the exactly reverse happens. Okay. Means here m small m times b minus a works as the lower value, capital M times b minus a works as the upper value or upper bound for the values of integration. Here it becomes exactly reverse, right? Then we have seen some important remarks or deductions. The first remark tells us that the value of integration a to b of dx is equal to lambda times b minus a, because the value of integration is going to lie between some small m multiple of b minus a to capital M times multiple of b minus a. Therefore, we were equating the value to some lambda multiple of b minus a. And if we add one more condition that the function is continuous, then this lambda can be replaced by f of c. That is, this lambda lying between small m to capital M will be a function value for some c in the domain of the given interval. Then if k is the bound for the function f of x, then integration mod of integration a to b is less than or equals to k into mod of b minus a. This also we have seen. Point number 4 we have seen is whenever the function is given to be non-negative, the value of integration is non-negative if b greater or equal by a. And if b less than or equals to a, we have seen the negative will be introduced. So this greater equal by 0 will become less equal by 0. That is, the value is non-positive for b less than or equals to a. We have tried to understand this with some examples as well. The last one we have seen is whenever we have a function f greater equal by g, then the value of integration f is greater equal by integration g, provided b greater equal by a, and the inequality reverses if b is less than or equals to a. Right? And then we have started the proof of a theorem that if p star is the refinement of p for the given bounded function, then lp star f is greater equal by lpf and up star f is less equal by upf. That is, lower sum increases with respect to refinement and upper sum decreases with respect to refinement. Now to prove this, what we have started with? We have started with the refinement p star of the given partition p by taking 1 point extra. That is 1 point more than p. Okay. And if this is my original partition p having n points, x0 to xn, then this extra point, say zeta, we were considering this in the ith subinterval, and so that the ith subinterval is divided into two parts again, xi minus 1 to zeta and zeta to xi. Therefore, here this previous original partition is having n subintervals. Okay, these are having n subintervals, right? No. Then what about the new partition refinement? How many intervals we have in this? One subinterval will be added, right? No. Therefore, may I say it will have n plus 1 subintervals in all this partition. Okay. Because zeta is the point we have added exactly between xi minus 1 to xi. That is, zeta is strictly greater by xi minus 1, strictly less by xi. If we take equality, this will not be a refinement. That is, either if zeta is equal to xi minus 1 or zeta equal to xi, it will not be an extra point, right? It will not generate one more subinterval. Then we have given the notation for the values of infima of the given function in these respective intervals, and we have seen this is what the relation between the infimas. Mi is less equal by w1 and mi is less equal by w2. Now let us try to prove the result what we wanted to. And now let me continue my proof. What we wanted to prove, let me just recall. LP star f is greater equal by LPF. To prove this, what I will do, I will take a subtraction of LP star f and LPF, and we will prove this difference is greater equal by 0. Right now? So let me consider, or let me find out the values first, and then we will have a subtraction. Now we have what we have. Let me find out what is LPF initially. What is LPF? What is the definition of the lower sum LPF? Yes, students. Lower sum definition.
Summation I running from 1 to n, small emi into delta xi.
Very good. Small emi into delta xi. What I will do, I will just run up the sum. Therefore, I will write m1 delta x1, m2 delta x2. Somewhere in the middle, it will be mi delta xi. And what will be my last term? This is mn delta xn. Is that okay? Now let me write
Yes, ma'am.
this LP star, right? Now for LP star f, I cannot write like the summation, no, because one interval is extra. So what we will do, we will go in right. We instead of summation, we will write directly this expansion value. The change will be in the ith subinterval only, no? The change occurs only in the ith subinterval. All the rest subintervals are having the same value. Therefore, shall I write LP star f as m1 delta x1 will be as it is, m2 delta x2 will be as it is. Now, what for mi delta xi? This we have to change. What should be a change? What is the infima over xi minus 1 to zeta? What we were doing actually, the infima value is multiplied by the length of the subinterval. Okay. Let us come to this subinterval. What is the infima in this xi minus 1 to zeta? We have assumed w1, right? And what will be the length of the interval? Xi minus 1 to zeta. What is the length of the interval xi minus 1 to zeta? What is the length? Yes, students, I am asking simply the length of the subinterval xi minus 1 to zeta. What is the length of the closed interval A to B you are writing?
Zeta minus x, I minus.
Very good. Zeta minus
X I minus 1.
I minus 1. Similarly, what is the infima over that second subinterval zeta to xi? W2 we have assumed. And what is the length of the interval? Xi minus zeta. Na? Very good. All the rest subintervals, let me keep as it is. Mn delta xn. Okay. Both the lower sum values we have written. Now let me consider the subtraction LP star f minus LPF. And what will be the aim to show? This difference is greater equal by 0, non-negative, so that this result will be proved. Okay. Now if I take a subtraction of these two terms, these two equations, can I say that all the rest terms will get cancelled? Only this one and this one will remain. All the rest are going to cancel one another. Right now?
Yes, ma'am.
M1 delta x1 cancels, M2 delta x2 cancels. And continuing this, the middle two will be as it is, simply Mn, and lastly Mn delta xn will also be cancelled. Therefore, let me write the remaining terms of LP star f. What are the terms remaining? W1 zeta minus xi minus 1 plus W2 xi minus zeta. And what is the term remaining from LPF? This is
mi
mi.
delta xi.
Very good. Now let me write the value of delta xi. What is delta xi value? Yes. What is your ith subinterval? Xi minus 1 to xi, no? Then what will be your length? Ith subinterval.
xi minus 1.
Right. So the length is xi minus xi minus 1. Is that okay? Now what I will do, I will just multiply the terms, right? Here we have w1 zeta, w1 xi minus 1 plus w2 xi minus w2 zeta minus mi xi added with mi xi minus 1. Now for the sake of proving the result, we were going to make one adjustment, and the adjustment we were doing is we were adding and subtracting a term mi zeta. Here what I have written, adding and subtracting the same term for the sake of proving the result. Adding and subtracting the same term mi zeta. Actually the aim is to show that this term is non-negative. To show this term is non-negative, what we wanted to show that it will be some addition or multiplication of the non-negative terms. Then and then only we were going to have the result. Okay. Now let me collect the coefficients of zeta and xi minus 1. Now let me collect the coefficients. First, let me check how many zetas I have. Here it is zeta, here it is zeta, here are the two zetas. Therefore, now I am going to collect this one and this one. Therefore, if I take this coefficient zeta common, we remains with w1 minus mi. Okay? Is that okay? Now let me collect the coefficients of xi minus 1. Where are the terms xi minus 1? One is here, another is here. Okay? Therefore, what can I write? Mi minus w1. Next, let me collect the coefficients of xi. Where are the xi terms? Here it is and here it is. Therefore, let me write the coefficient as w2 minus mi, right? And lastly, one more coefficient remaining, zeta. I will collect this one and this one. For zeta, now it will be mi minus w2, right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Mi minus w2. Now, look at these terms in the bracket. It involves w1 minus mi. Here it is mi minus w1. Therefore, if I take w1 minus mi common from the first two, what remains with me? w1 minus mi I am taking common. What are the terms remaining from the first two? Okay. From these two terms, I am taking w1 minus mi common. What are the terms remaining? This is zeta. And what will be a symbol here?
xi minus 1.
Minus xi minus 1, right? No. Similarly, I am considering w2 minus mi common from these two terms. Therefore, what I am remaining with? Xi minus
zeta.
Okay. Now let us try to understand the nature of every term involved. Let me call this statement to be 1. We have written mi less equal by w1, mi less equal by w2. Can you tell me what is the value of w1 minus mi and w2 minus mi? Shifting this mi to the right, 0 less equal by w1 minus mi, that is greater equal than 0. Okay. Therefore, this statement number 1 tells us these two terms involved, w1 minus mi is greater equal by 0, w2 minus mi is greater equal by 0. Let us try to understand the values of these two terms. Okay. Actually, xi minus 1 to xi is our ith subinterval. Zeta is the point we have marked in between the two. Then what you see the value of zeta minus xi minus 1. Actually, the relation we have written somewhere. I have not given the number here, it is star. Or I can give equation number 1 to this, right? For the sake of convenience. Right. I will call this as 1 and let this be 2. Okay. Now what this equation number 1 tells us? Xi minus 1 strictly less than by zeta strictly less than by xi. Then what is the value of zeta minus xi minus 1 nature?
Greater
Positive or
than.
negative? Yes, it is greater than 0, strictly positive. What about xi minus zeta? This is also positive, right? No? Okay. Now, just tell me what is the product of non-negative and positive? Product. Is it non-negative? Here also it is non-negative. And what is the sum of two non-negative values? It is non-negative, right? No. Sum of two non-negatives is non-negatives. Therefore, here I can write greater equal by 0. That is LP star here minus LPF is greater equal by 0. What is the reason? Since each bracket on RHS is either non-negative, I will write either greater equal by 0 or strictly greater by 0. That is, what is the nature? W1 minus Mi, non-negative. W2 minus Mi, non-negative. Xi minus zeta, strictly positive. Zeta minus xi minus 1, strictly positive. Okay. Therefore, we have the result. What we have proved? LP star here is greater equal by LPF. Okay. This result we have proved by considering only 1 point extra in the refinement. Therefore, what happens with the result if I take more number of points extra? एक पॉइंट जास्त असेल तरी रिझल्ट होल्ड होतोय. तर मग खूप समजा पी नंबर ऑफ पॉइंट्स जास्त आहेत तर काय होईल? The result holds or not? If P star contains small p number of points more than P, we repeat the process. How many times I have to repeat? For 1 point we have done when we have done this process. No, we repeat the above reasoning P times.
P times.
Whether the result holds or not. And arrive at. Where we will arrive same, no? LP star F is greater equal by LP F. Okay. Hence the proof for the first part of the theorem, that lower sum increases. Now let us go for the second part. In the second part, our aim is to show that this upper sum decreases with respect to partition. Let me write part 2. What to prove in this part? UP star F is less than or equals to UPF. Again the same process. Suppose we were considering 1 point extra. Suppose P star is refinement. Everything you have to write same. Refinement of capital P contains just 1 point more than P. Let this point be zeta and it is in ith subinterval. Right? Therefore again we were writing the same relation, xi minus 1 strictly less than by zeta strictly less than by xi. Okay. Now I am going to assume the suprema values. Let me write capital MI first. What is capital MI? Capital MI is the suprema of the function f in which interval? Xi minus 1 to xi. Capital W1 is the suprema of the function f in which interval? Xi minus 1 to zeta. And what for W2? Suprema of the function in zeta to xi. Okay. Now, or we know that. What we know a relation capital Mi and W1, capital Mi and W2. Every one of you are giving me the answer. Yes, what is the answer? Less equal, no? Less equal is the relation, no?
Greater equal.
Greater equal, very good. This is greater equal and this is greater equal. Now again let us do the same process for finding upper sum with respect to the original partition, and then we will go for with respect to the refinement. Okay, let me write this expanded form, not in terms of summation. M1 delta x1, M2 delta x2. Same process is there as we have done for the first part. Mi delta xi and so on up to capital Mn delta xn. What for u p star here? M1 delta x1, M2 delta x2 up to ith subinterval they are same. Only the change will be in ith subinterval. In the ith subinterval, what will be the change? W1 is suprema. What is the length? Zeta minus xi minus 1. W2 is the suprema and the length is xi minus zeta. Here you can look, right now? Zeta minus xi minus 1 and xi minus zeta will be the length, and rest continued as it is Mn delta x. Okay, now these two are the values in our hand. Now what should I consider? I should consider the difference up star f minus upf. And what is the aim to show? Less equal by 0 or greater equal by 0? Here we want to prove this, na? We have to show this difference is less than or equals to 0. Again, if I look at these two terms, all the terms will get cancelled except ith subinterval, right now. This terms remaining, all the rest will get cancelled to one another. Therefore, we will write the terms which are remaining with us. This is Mi delta xi. I have to write for refinement first. This values W1 into zeta minus xi minus 1 added with W2 times xi minus zeta subtracted with capital Mi delta xi. But what we know delta xi is what is delta xi?
Xi minus 1.
Very good, xi minus 1. Now let us multiply by the terms to the bracket. We get W1 zeta minus W1 xi minus 1 added with W2 xi minus W2 zeta minus Mi xi added with capital Mi xi minus 1. Again the same adjustment we will follow. What adjustment I am going to follow is adding and subtracting capital Mi zeta now. Previously we have added small Mi zeta. Na? Adding and subtracting capital Mi zeta just for the sake of proving the result, right? Now I am going to consider again the coefficients of zeta, xi minus 1 and xi, right? Let me consider the coefficient of zeta first. How many terms we have with zeta? W1 zeta and this W1 minus Mi I want to do. These two terms I will take. What is the term remaining? If I take zeta common from the two terms, this will be capital W1 minus Mi. Is that okay? added with, let me collect the coefficient of xi minus 1, say. Where are the terms xi minus 1? Here it is and here it is. Okay, if I take xi minus 1 common, E remains with mi minus w1, right? Next, I will
Yes,
take the
ma'am.
coefficient of xi. Where are the terms xi? Here it is. W2 xi and mi xi. Therefore, what will be there with us? W2 minus mi, right now? Lastly, again, we were going to consider the coefficient of zeta. W2 zeta and this zeta we have. Wait a minute. Okay. Now let us do the same process again. Which point? Zeta I am writing, no? Taking zeta common, what we will get? Capital Mi minus W2. Okay. Next, again we will take the same steps. W1 minus Mi I wanted to take common. Okay, from these two terms, first two terms. Then what we were remaining with? Zeta minus xi minus 1, right now? Again, taking W2 minus Mi common, we will remain with xi minus zeta. Is that okay? Same steps as that of the first part of the proof, right? Now look at the nature of every term involved. What is the relation we have seen? W2, here it is. What I will call this as equation number 3, and here I will call equation number 4. Look at this 4. What is the nature of W1 minus Mi? Greater equal by 0 or less equal by 0?
Less equal.
Yes, it is less equal by 0. Let me just write, this is less equal by 0. This is also less equal by 0. Then what is the value? Zeta minus xi minus 1? Positive, no? These two values are positive, right? Correct, no? Then what is the relation? Positive into non-positive. Less than or equals to 0 multiplied by greater than 0. If I just drop this equality, this is 1 negative, 1 positive. What is the product? If I drop this equal to 0 possibility, this first term is negative, second term is positive. What is the product of 1 positive, 1 negative?
Negative.
Negative. That is totally result is less than or equals to 0. This is also less than or equals to 0. And what is the addition of two non-positives? Non-positive. Right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Therefore, here I will write directly less equal by 0. And what is the reason? Since Mi is greater equal by W1, may I write? This implies W1 minus Mi is less than or equals to 0. Mi is greater equal by W2. W2 minus Mi is less than or equals to 0. Therefore, what we have proved? UP star here minus UPF is less than or equals to 0, which implies UP star here is less than or equals to UPF. Okay? Again, what happens if it contains P number of points? We have to repeat, no? If P star contains P points more than P, then repeat above reasoning P times, and we get what we get? We'll get the same result, no? Mu P star F is less than or equals to mu P F. Yes, hence it is the proof of the given theorem. If you have any kind of difficulties, you can ask me. If you just follow the first part, the proof of second part is very similar to the first one. So nothing to worry about the second part. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us go to one more corollary. No difficulties, no?
No, ma'am.
Now let me go for one corollary on this proof. Now the corollary says that if a refinement P star of P contains, now here it was given exactly how many points it has, then what is the exact effect. P points more than P, more than capital P, and mod of f of x is less than or equals to k for all x in the closed interval. That is, k is the bound for your function, then prove that. Okay, 2 points asked to prove again. LP F less than or equals to LP star F less than or equals to LP F plus 2pk mu. Similarly, second one is UPF greater equal by UP star F greater equal by UPF minus 2pk mu. Let us try to understand that every term involved in this, right? We have proved this left part already in the previous theorem. LP star F is greater equal by LP F. Now we wanted to show that this LP star F is less equal by this term. Means to prove the corollary, it remains to prove this part only. Right part of the inequality, no? Here also the right part to be proved only. That is, we wanted to show by how much value this lower sum is increased. This left part tells us that lower sum increases, but this right part of the inequality ensures us that by how much amount your lower sum is increasing with respect to the refinement. Okay, and this increment depends upon some quantities. What are the quantities? This quantity LP star F is less equal by LPF plus 2pk mu. Right? Let us try to understand what is P. Small p is the number of points extra in the refinement. What is k? Bound of the function, right now? These are the points. This is the bound, k. And what is mu? Mu is the norm of a partition. What is norm we have seen in the last definition? In the last lecture we have seen this definition. No. What is norm of a partition? This is the length of largest subinterval, right? Length of largest subinterval. Therefore, whatever is this quantity is increased, this quantity will increase maximum by 2pk mu term, 2pk mu value. Correct now? It is LP star F is less equal by this term. Similarly, in case of upper sum, we have proved this part already, that upper sum decreases with respect to refinement. This term tells you by how much amount it is decreasing. The maximum amount decreased will be 2pk mu. Again, p is the number of points, k is the bound of the function, mu is the norm value of your partition. Norm value of the partition. Is the statement clear to everyone? We were proving only right part of both the inequalities. Left we have proved already. Okay. Now, to prove this part, we were using some statement we have already written in the theorem. Okay. This is what is the number? I think I have not given the number. Let me call star 1. star 1. Okay, and this similarly here it is. This is star 2. Okay, what is the left hand side for this? Right now, what is the left hand side for your star 1? Right? Now I am going to use this star 1 equation directly in order to prove the right part of your inequality. Therefore, I am going to start directly with this star 1. Proof. Part 1 again we were proving. Okay. Therefore, by previous theorem, if P star contains 1 point more than P by star 1, we have what we have by star 1 equation? LP star F minus LPF is equals to W1 minus Mi zeta minus Xi minus 1 added with W2 minus Mi and Xi minus zeta. Let me call statement number 1 in this proof. Is it okay? Now, what is one more fact? What is one more fact given? K is the bound of your function. So let me start with that. Also, mod f of x is less than or equals to k for all x in the given interval. Therefore, may I write this as minus k less than or equals to f of x less than or equals to plus k? Correct, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is k for the given function now? Is it the upper bound of the function? Is it the upper bound of the function in or in the whole interval? What for minus k? Lower bound. Correct, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I wanted to know a relation between W1 and K, W1 and K minus K and Mi. Okay, see, this is arbitrary lower bound. This is arbitrary upper bound. Okay, what for W1? W1 is infima of F in which interval? Xi minus 1 to zeta, and this is infima of F in ith subinterval, right? Right now, what is the meaning of infima? This is greatest lower bound. Greatest lower bound. What is the meaning of this infima also? Greatest lower bound. Okay. Now we have already seen the relation between Mi and W1. What is the relation? This is less equal. Now I wanted to have a relation between infima and arbitrary upper bound.
Less equal.
Yes, it is less equal. Now I wanted to have a relation between arbitrary lower bound and greatest lower bound. Arbitrary lower bound and greatest lower bound. Surely greatest lower bound will be greater, no? Okay. Have you understood this relation? Okay. Now, look at the inequalities we have established. Minus k less than or equals to Mi. Minus k less than or equals to Mi. If I multiply by negative, what will happen? May I write minus Mi less than or equals to k? Actually, k is greater or equal by minus Mi, no? Because multiplying negative by negative, it reverses your inequality. That is, k is greater or equal by minus Mi. That is what I am writing minus Mi less than or equals to k. And what is this right part of the inequality we have? W1 is less than or equals to K. Let us add both the inequalities. What we will have? Is it W1 minus Mi less than or equals to 2K? Adding. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
W1 minus Mi less than or equals to 2K. Let me call it as equation number 2. Similarly, can I write W2 minus Mi less than or equals to 2K? Statement number 3. Now let us put both the values in this equation number 1. This we were putting less than or equals to K. This is also we were going to put in less than or equals to K. Therefore, put 2 and 3 in 1. Put 2, 3 in 1. Let us write what is equation number 1. LP star F minus LPF. Okay. Now I am putting W1 minus Mi less than or equals to 2K. This is also less than or equals to 2K. Therefore, equality becomes inequality 2K into zeta minus xi minus 1 added with 2K into xi minus zeta. Okay. Therefore, 2K let me take common. What we will have? Zeta minus xi minus 1 added with xi minus zeta. So the zeta will get cancelled and we remains with xi minus 1. What is xi minus 1 actually? This is the length of your
Delta xi.
delta xi. Good. Length of ith subinterval. Now I want the relation between delta xi and mu. What is mu?
Normal.
Norm, length of largest subinterval, and this is simply length of any arbitrary length of ith subinterval, right? What is the relation between length of largest subinterval and length of ith subinterval? If this ith subinterval itself is the largest subinterval, then we will have equality. But if not, what is the relation then? Less than, no?
Less equal.
For here it is we have less equal. So let me put this value again. 2K delta x I am going to substitute by less than or equals to mu. Therefore, what we have obtained? LP star here minus LP here is less than or equals to 2K mu. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what we have, let me shift this LPF on the right. And therefore, LPF is less than or equals to LPF plus 2K mu. See, we wanted, with whether we wanted to prove this, this is 2pk mu, na? Where p is the number of points extra in the refinement. But here we have started with only 1 point extra, 1 point more than p. If I have 1 point more than p, then we have 2k mu. Let me add one more point extra and let us repeat the process. Therefore, this right hand side will be added with one more 2k mu. If I take 2 points extra, if I take one more point extra, then this one more 2k mu will be added. Likewise, if I add p times the point extra, then what is the effect on this right hand side? Are you getting me? If we have 1 point extra, then the quantity added on the right is 2k mu. Okay. What will happen if I add one more point extra? If I add one more point extra, the inequality will be LPF plus 2k mu added with one more 2k mu, right? Therefore, can I write this as LPF plus 2 times 2k mu? Is it okay?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
we add 3 points, this will be 3 times 2k mu. Therefore, similarly, if I add p points, then this will be p times 2k mu, right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, supposing that each additional point gives you Each additional point is introduced one by one. Each additional point is introduced one by one. One by one. And by repeating the above process, how many times I have to repeat? 3 times. No?
3 times.
We get. What we will get? LP star F is less than or equals to LPF plus P times 2K mu. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Times 2K mu. Okay. Therefore, now this is 2pk mu is the term we have, and we know already this is greater equal by LPF. Thus, can I write LPF is less than or equals to LP star F less than or equals to LPF plus, may I write now 2pk mu. Yes, any difficulty with this? If you have, you can ask me. There is a possibility to have a confusion here, but I have tried to explain you this. Okay. Now, shall I go for the second part? Second part is also similar to this. Part 2. What should be proved? Regarding UP, let me write to prove that UPF is greater equal by UP star F is greater equal by UPF minus 2pk mu. Okay. Now again, with which equation I should start? At star 2 we have written na? In previous theorem, this one. With this star 2 we have to prove, and we will show that this W1 minus Mi and W2 minus Mi are greater equal by minus 2. This is what we wanted to do. Let me write. By previous theorem, if P star contains one point more than P, then by star 2 equation we have, what is star 2 equation? UP star F minus UPF is equal to capital W1 minus Mi into zeta minus Xi minus 1 added with capital W2 minus Mi Xi minus zeta. Okay. And in this equation, in this proof, I'll call it as 4. Right now? Now 2, 3 I have given. Here reason is from 2, 3 I have not written. Okay. This is number 4 equation we have. Now let us try to understand the relation between K and this W and minus Mi. Okay. Also, again very similarly, mod f of x is less than or equals to K minus K less than or equals to f of x less than or equals to plus K. Again this plus K is an arbitrary upper bound, minus K is the arbitrary lower bound, and we want a relation between K and W and capital Mi and K. Actually f of x lies between the two. Right now, Mi and K, Mi is supremum of F in ith subinterval, right? This is arbitrary upper bound. What is W1? Supremum of F in zeta 2 Xi minus 1. And what this is? This is arbitrary lower bound. What is the relation between arbitrary lower bound and the upper bound or suprema? less equal. Is that okay?
Less equal.
Less equal. So looking at this again, consider, I'll take this right left part, minus k less than or equals to W1. Okay? Mi less than or equals to k, this right part. Now adding we get, what will we get adding? Minus k plus mi less than or equals to W1 plus k. Now I'll just take k on one side. This k I'm shifting to the left. So minus k becomes minus 2k and is less equal by mi I'm shifting to the right. This is W1 minus mi. We call this as 5. W1 minus mi greater or equal by minus 2k. Similarly, minus 2k is less than or equals to W2 minus mi. Let me call it as statement number 6. Now let me put both the values 5 and 6 in 4. Put 5, 6 in 4. Okay. Therefore, what is the 4 equation? UP star here minus UPF. Okay. Now this 4 is actually equality, no? This is equality, but W1 minus mi we were going to substitute greater equal by some terms. Therefore, this equal to becomes greater. So this is greater equal by which term they are greater? Minus 2k into zeta minus xi minus 1 as it is added with minus 2k into xi minus zeta as it is. Is that okay? Minus 2k
Yes,
into
ma'am.
zeta minus xi minus 1 added with xi minus zeta. So zeta cancels. We will remain with xi minus 1 minus 2k. This is delta xi. Okay. Now, for the sake of understanding, now I take this negative with delta xi. We know delta xi is less than or equals to mu, we have seen. But what about this negative delta xi? May I say negative delta xi is greater or equal by negative mu? Right now? Therefore, can I write here minus 2k into mu? Okay. This is with negative sign, no? Delta xi is with negative sign. Therefore, what we have proved? UP star here minus UPF is greater or equal by minus 2k mu. Okay, this is due to 1 point extra. Therefore, with similar reasoning, I can say if I repeat the process p times, therefore this will be p times 2 pk mu. Okay. Now, supposing that each additional point is introduced one by one. And by repeating the above process, how many times? 3 times.
Peter.
We get. What we are going to get? UP star here minus UPF is minus 2k mu into mu. P, na? Okay. That is UP star here is greater or equal by 2pf minus 2pk mu. Okay, and we already proved that UPF is greater or equal. Also, UPF is greater or equal by UP star here, greater or equal by UPF minus 2pk mu. Hence the proof. Any difficulty with the corollary also? If you have, you can ask me. I hope the steps are very clear, na? While explaining. Or whether you feel any difficulty or ambiguity at the time of explanation?
No, ma'am.
If you feel, you can ask me, no doubt. Okay. Let us take some two small theorems which we have. Okay. Next theorem is for any two partition P1 and P2, prove that. What to prove? LP1F is less than or equals to UP2F. Actually, we have proved LPF is less than or equals to UPF. No, but the partition should be same. This we know. LPF is always less equal by UPF. But the underlying partition is same. No, but here the underlying the partitions are different. Means what the theorem wanted to tell us, whatever is the partition, lower sum is always less equal by upper sum. Why? Why you think like this? Because lower sum always lies below the curve, right now? This is your curve, say. Okay. Whatever is your partition, where you are going to have this region, like this, na, below the curve. Suppose this is with respect to your one partition. Now let me change the partition and find the upper sum. If I find the upper sum, where will be a location? It is like this, na? Somewhere above the curve. Right? So whatever is your partition, upper sum lies above the curve, lower sum lies below the curve. Therefore, we wanted to show that every lower sum is less equal by every upper sum, regardless of your partition. Regardless of your partition. That is, no upper sum can be less than any lower sum. Though your partition under the consideration are same or different, but still every lower sum is less than or equals to every upper sum. This is what the proof demands. Okay. Now the proof of this is in one line actually. What we will do first, we will take the common refinement of these two partitions. How we have defined the common refinement? Whenever we have two different partitions, if I take their union, then it will be a common refinement. Let P star be common refinement of P1 and P2. That is, P star I am going to consider P1 union P2. Whether union will be a refinement or not? Let me give an example here. Suppose we have an interval 1 to 10 with us, and I am writing P1 to be the collection of points, say 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Okay. And if suppose I am writing the second partition 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, no 6 is not. Okay, 6 you can write, no 6, 7, 9, 10. These are the points. Then what will be the union? 2, 4,
1 to 10.
What will be a union here? 1, 3, 5, 6, 7 and 9. Therefore, whether the union gives you the refinement or not? Refinement of both the partitions. That is, P1 union P2 is a refinement of P1 and is a refinement of P2 also. Correct now? Because in the union, how many points do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Therefore, it is a refinement of P1 and it is the refinement of P2 as well. And if we consider the union, it is called as the common refinement of P1 and P2. Okay. Now let me show you the proof in one line. How? What is the relation between LP1F and LP star F? P star is refinement of P1. What is the relation?
Less equal.
Less equal. What is the relation between LP star F and UP star F? Same partition we have now. Less equal. What is the relation between UP star F and UP2F? Where P star is refinement. Yes. But hence we have proved no? LP1F is less than or equals to UP2F. Right now? LP1F less than or equals to UP2F. Okay? Let us write it simply in the neat wordings. Therefore, let me write by using previous lemma or previous theorem. May I write LP1F is less than or equals to LP star F. Okay? Call it as 1. But what we know? LP star F is always less than or equals to UP star F. Let me call it as 2. Again by theorem, UP star F is less than or equals to UP2F. Okay, let me call it as 3. Check combining 1, 2, 3. What can I write? LP1F is less than or equals to UP2F. Hence the proof. Okay. Let me write one more. For a bounded function, here, prove that. What to prove? Lower integral is less equal by upper integral. Lower integral is less equal by, I think you can write this as a corollary also of the previous theorem. What we have proved in the previous theorem? LP1F is less than or equals to UP2F. What is the relation between upper integral and upper sum? What is upper integral? This is infimum of set of upper sums, no? And what is lower integral? Supremum of set of lower sums, right? Now, what I'm going to do is, I am going to keep this partition P2 fixed, and let me just vary the partitions on left side. P1 I wanted to vary. P2 I'll keep fixed. That is, instead of P1 I'll take P1, P2, P3, P4, P4, P5, P6 and so on. May I say every lower sum will be less equal by UP2F? Right now? Every lower sum will be less than or equals to this fixed term UP2F. Therefore, if I take set of all lower sums on the left, may I say UP2F will be the upper bound of the set? Correct? No. This will be the upper bound. And if I take the suprema of that corresponding set, I think I have to write it. Okay, what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep P2 fixed. Okay, and let us vary P1. Partition on the left I'm going to vary. What kind of statement I'm getting? LP1F less than or equals to UP2. LP2F less than or equals to UP2F. Let me take one more partition, say LP3F less than or equals to UP2F. LP4F less than or equals to UP2F. P2 we have fixed out on the right. And just continue. What will happen? With this, may I say, if I consider the set of all lower sums in a bracket, this is less equal by UP2F. That is, this UP2F works as the upper bound of set of lower sums. Now let me take a suprema. Now what is the relation between suprema of this set and arbitrary upper bound? Suprema is least upper bound, no? And this is any upper bound. What is the relation? Students, reply me. Just 5 minutes more I will take. What is the relation between least upper bound and upper bound?
Less than or equal.
Less than or equals to. Here it is less than or equal. And what is the supremum of lower sums? Is it lower integral? Hence we have proved lower integral is less than or equals to up to n, right? Same thing we have to repeat. Now whatever is this value we have obtained, let us keep it fixed and vary the partitions on the right. So what we were getting? Lower integral f less than or equals to up to f. Lower integral is less than or equals to up1f. Lower integral is less than or equals to up3f, and so on. And what it is going to imply? This lower integral is the lower bound of set of all upper sums, right? Every term. Okay. Now let me consider the infima. Infima of the set. This is the lower bound. Infima means greatest lower bound, no? And this is any lower bound. What is the relation then? Less equal. Therefore, this lower integral is less than or equals to upper integral, and hence the proof. Okay? You can see the proof from the textbook for writing. Okay? Let me stop it here. If you have any difficulties, you can unmute yourself and ask. Try to understand this fact. Understanding is important. How I am going to keep one partition fixed, varying the other, and so on. I have tried to elaborate here. Okay? Let me stop for today. Thank you for being with me for this lecture.